Episode 91, our guests are Jay and Rebecca Feely, and we get to hear their story about how they met. We also get to hear about Jay's career as an NFL kicker, and then ultimately what led to him being a CBS broadcaster. And what he's currently doing is running for U.S. House of Representatives as the Republican candidate for our 5th district here in Arizona. This is a fantastic episode. I can't wait for you to listen. All right, well, welcome, Jay and Rebecca. Thanks for being with us. And we're so excited to hear your story because you guys, well, both of you are an amazing family who love the Lord and are doing really great and exciting things. But I'm just so interested to hear your story because that's a big deal with what you're about to embark on or what you're embarking on. But I want to know, where did you grow up and all of that? So
how did you meet?
Well, we met in church, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
She said she was done dating athletes, and I was going to church, and honestly, it was like God kept blinders on us because I had gone to this church for 3 years, and if I had known there was this 5'11" beautiful blonde at the church, I would have went and introduced myself. And she sang in the choir, and somehow I never saw her. Like our paths never crossed. I had spoke at the church many times. Yeah, she can sing. She doesn't let people know that. But I walked into church one day. I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
And her and her roommate had just said, hey, we're going to introduce ourselves to the next guys that we see at church.
Oh, how funny.
And so after service, she came up, introduced herself. We talked for a little bit.
Cool.
And I was with one of our quarterbacks who's 6'6", and we walked out, and I said, I'm going to have a date with her by next week. And he goes, no, she's too tall for you. She's my type. And so
how tall are you, Jay?
I was like 5'11" then.
Okay,
I'm like 5'9" now. I keep shrinking.
Hey, I
but I walked into class the next morning. Thankfully, I got up for my 8 a.m. class and didn't skip it. And I walked into class, and she was talking to a guy that I knew on the hockey team. And so I went up and said hi. And, hey, I met you yesterday. And then we went into class together. Now, our story differs because I say she was waiting on me. She says she was just studying. Sure.
In the hall.
And so I come out of class after an hour-long class, and she's still there. So I talked to her again and get her phone number, and then
cool.
that was it. Pretty much.
He came over that night, and basically we
never
were
left.
together.
Oh, I love that.
We met and married in 10 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
I get the two different stories because my wife and I have two completely different stories.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, there's the truth, Ryan. And
Sure,
then,
Right.
That's awesome.
How old were you both?
It was the national championship year for Michigan.
Okay.
So it was like a whirlwind.
Yeah, that was September 7th when we met. So right at the beginning, first game of the season, we go undefeated. We win the national championship, and her and I fall in love that entire season. So it was
we
pretty
got married the next
spectacular.
summer.
That's cool.
It's hard to beat that year.
I was going to say, that's a good
That's a good year.
We're trying to top it now.
That's right.
Right. So, well, can you take us back to even before then?
Yeah.
How did you get interested in sports, and what made you decide to pursue that?
Sports was my support system. So I went through, my parents got divorced when, I was 12 years old. And as any young person whose parents get divorced, your world is crushed and you don't know where to turn. And so I turned to sports. I played 3 or 4 sports at a time. All the way through high school, I wanted to play sports, so I didn't have to go home. I'd go to school at 6 in the morning and come home at 9, 10 at night. And, that was what I relied on.
Yeah.
And, when I got to Michigan, I grew up in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. I got recruited to go to Michigan, decided to leave Florida, go about as far away as I could from home, go to Michigan. She's from Michigan, and she went to Michigan as well. That's where we met. But my world was rocked. My second day of practice at Michigan, I tore my quad and my kicking leg, and you're a kicker and you can't kick anymore and you're nothing. And I sat there for 4 months, just trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life and, struggling, trying to fill that void that had always been there for me. Sports had never let me down. And now at the biggest moment in my life, it was taken away. And that's when I gave my life to Christ and, just out of desperation, just said, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. I don't know if I'll ever kick again, but I want to live for you. And, that took me down this different path and this different journey. I didn't even know really what it meant at the time.
Yeah.
And a great group on campus there was able to kind of walk me through what it meant to give your life to Christ and to live your life for Christ. And, that certainly led me to Rebecca. I would not have met her had I not made that decision. And then we went to have this wonderful journey and family and all the ups and downs that exist with that every family goes through.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting story because there's a lot of people that wrap everything up into sports. It becomes almost their identity, right? And then when it's essentially what seems like taken from them, it's like that struggle. But yet that's also a great story to God and how that's what he used to get a hold of you. But that wasn't the end for you with your kicking.
No, my leg healed up and I was able to start kicking and then met Rebecca, like I said, that year was my senior year. She was working in a morgue, cutting up bodies when I met her.
Oh my goodness.
Thinking that she was going to medical school.
Yeah.
And our path after we met each other took a different turn. I had no idea I'd get into the NFL. In fact, I didn't for 2 years. After I graduated, or after I went to Michigan and finished school, Rebecca went and she thought she was going to go into med school, ended up working for Merck Pharmaceuticals for a little bit, and then she got pregnant. This is 2 years after we got married, and I was working as a financial advisor and still kicking. She would come shag balls for me at the field after work.
Just practice.
Just practicing on my own time, trying to get an opportunity, get those tryouts, and I did that for 2 years, and literally got to the point where I was almost ready to give it up. Like, okay, it's been 2 years. At some point, you got to be real with yourself that dream's not going to happen. And she definitely encouraged me, hey, go give it one more shot. There was this tryout you could do where you could pay $500 to go kick in front of a bunch of coaches.
That's cool.
That I had done the year before and nothing had happened. So I paid the money, went out there and kicked. It was like God said, okay, now I'm going to open that door and open it so wide that you're going to have to know that I was the one who did it.
Wow.
I had a couple of contract offers from different teams. Got $0 to sign with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was a good opportunity against another young guy and went in and ended up winning the job and then kicked for 14 years. And we moved 12 times and it started this crazy journey that 6 teams that led here to Arizona.
Did you love it?
I did. I loved every minute of it. It was hard. There was ups and downs.
A lot of pressure.
Stressful.
When she lived it, and I saw it now through her eyes when my son played in college, and I was a mess in the stands. I was just texting
Because you have no control.
Yeah.
As a player, it's on you.
And you're mad at like the coaches and not doing the right things. You're struggling for your son when he misses, and you've been there and you know how important each kick is. And
Was he a kicker?
yeah, he was a kicker as well. I kicked at Arizona State and then at Colorado, and so it was eye-opening for me because when I played, like I could internalize that, I could handle it, I could deal with it. She had to live that, and she had to sit in the stands and listen to everybody cuss you out when you miss field goals.
Yeah,
and
cover the kids' ears.
Right.
Like,
Oh, man.
They're talking about your dad.
Yeah.
And then Saturday Night Live does a spoof about you when you have a bad game, and you're trying to get ready to play the next game, and if you have a bad game, you're going to get cut, and you're going to have to sell your home and take the kids out of school and move.
Yeah.
And those are all realities of what you're doing. But you can't let your mind think about that. You can't let your mind wander and think about the implications of what you're doing in that moment. You have to discipline it to think about just the priorities and the focus right then, the fundamentals that are actually going to help you. And so you have to not allow your mind to wander in that moment. And in that game, we went to overtime again. I have another game winner again, and they call timeout and they play a montage of my misses from the game before on the Jumbotron during the timeout. And I'm trying not to look at the Jumbotron.
So ruthless.
Yeah, it's City of Brotherly Love. It was in Philadelphia.
Of course.
And, thankfully I make that kick and the career goes on because that was my 5th year. I played for another 9 years. But the thing that really stood out to me afterwards, looking back, was it took away a lot of that fear of failure because I failed as bad as I could fail. Saturday Night Live did a spoof about me. I had to rely on my faith in that moment more than ever. And I was able to overcome it. And that allowed me then to have a lot more fun the next 9 years of my career. Because what do I have to fear now?
Yeah.
Like I failed as bad as I could fail and it didn't break me.
And at the end of the day, it's a sport, right?
Yeah. It's a sport, but it is what you're relying on. Like it's what your family's relying on. It's what's paying the bills. It's no different than anybody else's career. So yes, it's a sport, but it is also, what's going to support your family for the next 20 years.
And that job in particular is very high stress. I mean, your job is to go in and win the game.
Yeah.
When it's on the line.
Usually you either win it or you lose it.
Yeah.
There's no worse feeling than going in Monday morning when you missed a game winner. And it's like a morgue in there. Everybody's sad and no one's talking. Everybody's walking with their head down. And like, had I made that kick, everyone else would be joyful and happy.
Yeah.
And that's a tough day walking around that day in the office.
Did you ever have a teammate that just built you up?
Lots.
Somebody that stands out.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many. Larry Fitzgerald was great. Clayus Campbell was great here. Patrick Peterson. And then your long snappers and your punters. Like here, Mike Leach and Dave Zastida were amazing for me. John Denny in Miami was great. Derek Rackley and Chris Moore in Atlanta at the beginning of my. So all these guys that kind of were just there for you. Well, I mean, one, I think it's determined by like how you work in the off season. I tell young kickers that all the time. Like if you do everything they do in workouts and running and the off season work, then they're going to have your back when you fail.
You put in the work.
Yeah, because they're no different than you would if they dropped a touchdown pass or they threw an interception or they got beat on a deep route at corner. You have your teammates' back. But if you don't do that and you separate yourself and you're different from the rest of the team, then when you miss, they're not going to have your back. And so that's kind of how I always approached it.
What a cool skill or muscle to embrace failure and be okay with it because of what it's taught you, and then almost make you fearless going forward. I think that so many people make decisions based on fear and not what they're looking towards, but trying to avoid it. And if only they would not let that stand in the way, right? What could be done? That's really cool.
One of my favorite quotes is fear will kill more dreams than failure ever would.
Yeah. The only failure in failing is failing to get back up.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of how we both approached it.
So tell us about your family.
Go ahead.
So we have, along with his crazy, stressful career, and I think we've moved 15 times
Something like
that.
27 years.
Yeah.
But we had 4 kids under 7. So life got crazy really fast. And I think I had each of the kids in different places,
Wow.
right? So I never had
4 different states.
4 different states. I think 2 in Florida, but one in Miami and one in Tampa.
Wow.
Anyway, so so my dreams of going to med school were put on hold indefinitely, really, because I knew that I wanted to be a mom. As soon as I had Lexi, I was like, okay, nobody's raising her. I
Yes.
am. And if he gave me the ability to stay home, I wanted to, so I did. So we had the 4 kids, and then when we got settled here, we started doing mission trips to Haiti, and Jay's brother had gone after the earthquake. And so we went, maybe 4 times. He went first and made sure it was safe to bring the kids down. And then we met a translator down there at one of the missions we worked at and fell in love with him. And his dream was to come to the States and get educated and play soccer. And we said, let's do it. And
moved him into our house.
Took about a year and a half of paperwork, and we had Andy Biggs actually help us send a letter to clear him to the government. And then we sponsored him and took him into our home, and he became our 5th kid.
That's cool.
How old was he?
He was 19, so we couldn't legally adopt him. But we told his mom, his mom still had 6 kids back at home. And we said, we're taking the breadwinner. He made $50 a week on a good week, right? So we said, we'll support you while he goes through school. And then once he gets a job, he can start supporting you. So that's what we did. We didn't want to leave them without help.
Yeah.
But he went to Grand Canyon, loved playing soccer and did excellent in school. I think he got a 3.4.
Yeah.
Graduated, went and got his master's on his own.
That's cool.
Got married, bought a house, bought a car. They're on their 2nd baby.
Wow.
When he bought his home, we stood on his driveway, and when we met him, he was homeless in Haiti. His home
he
got
lived under a
destroyed in the
tarp.
earthquake.
The Samaritan Purse blue
Yes.
tarp.
I'm like, Delma, think about the journey God just took you on over the last almost 10 years.
That's incredible.
To having this, he would go up on the mountain and pray at like 4 a.m. before going to school and going to work, that God would somehow provide an opportunity. And they brought us together and gave you the opportunity. And then he took the opportunity and ran with it and did everything the right way. When I dropped him off at Grand Canyon, I was like, hey, this is your shot. Like, you screw it up, you go back to Haiti, I can't help you. But if you take advantage of it, you can change not only your life, but your family and generations' lives.